Hi, friends. We're so glad you're here. The Big Ideas podcast exists to empower the next generation of entrepreneurs. Join us for unscripted conversations while you're at home with your kids or even just driving them around to activities. We hope these short but powerful messages will give you inspiration and encouragement for your next big ideas. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Big Ideas podcast. I am Ashlee Ilg, and I am so excited to roll out a little series of solo episodes specifically revolving around topics that tend to be pretty popular in the fall and in this holiday season. And today's episode is going to be just really focused specifically on family photos and making the most of family photography sessions. And if you're not somebody who typically loves doing family pictures, I'm hoping that with this episode, I might change your mind. I might help you realize that there's a ton of value in it. Yes, it's an expense, it's a time commitment, but at the end of the day, oh my goodness, family pictures to me are one of the most precious things that we can do, right? So this episode is going to talk about, why they're important, why they can be hugely valuable, why you want to take them, why you want to prioritize that, and then we're going to get into some of the nitty gritty, finding a photographer, picking out a location, choosing your outfits, and just some hacks and some tips that I've learned over the years with our large family, littles, teenagers, mostly boys. I mean, I kind of have a combination of, kids and family members over the years that maybe wouldn't be your most ideal, photography subject, so to speak. But I think they would probably all agree right now, maybe some of them more reluctantly, but I think they would all agree that family photos are always worth it. And nobody has ever looked back and said, gosh, Mom, I wish we never took pictures that fall or that spring or whatever the time of year is that we took them. But so just to kind of jump right in, for some background, we have been taking family pictures since our first son was born, since Owen was born. We jumped on that bandwagon of the newborn photography session, did the cute little curled up baby pictures. And then because we had 3 boys in 3 years, then next son, when Dylan was a newborn, we did a family picture then. When Gavin was born, we did family photos then. And then it just kind of created this habit of every year we wanted to capture how much they had grown, what their relationships looked like who was the big brother holding the baby, and who was walking at that point in their life, who was still crawling, who had to be held by me or Andy. And then as Hannah came along, of course, she definitely needed her own photo session, and that lended itself into another family session. And then throughout the years, and as we had Liam a couple of years ago, but every year in between, we've always taken family pictures. I was thinking before I recorded this if there was a year that we skipped, and there is not. So we have 14 years of family pictures, and I don't regret one of them. Yes, they weren't always easy when they were little bitties. They were honestly easier than they were in those toddler and 3, 4, 5-year-old range where they just don't want to sit still. They don't really want to do anything you're telling them to do. They definitely don't want to look at the camera for a prolonged period and just smile for no reason, especially boys. They are definitely just wanting to run around and climb and, find an adventure. And so we learned a lot in those years of how to capture those pictures. And like I said, we never regret that we prioritize them. If you do have young kids, Liam, for context, our youngest is 3, and we are getting ready to do family pictures this weekend. And so all of these tips are kind of on the forefront of my mind right now, and just thinking through how are we going to make this happen? How are we going to make the most of this hour-long session we have booked? And, if you've got toddlers or babies or just rambunctious kids that really aren't big fans of getting their picture taken, I am not opposed to a bribe. Just, honest, we have always, I'm pretty sure we've always bribed our kids with ice cream, or if you even look at some of our pictures, they're holding lollipops, which is kind of a cute prop anyway, or an ice cream cone, or balloons, whatever it is that makes them really happy, and maybe a little bit more compliant for a short window of time. I am not opposed to that. The photographer is also not opposed to something to make your kids, our kids, a little bit more cooperative, right? To get that picture, to get that shot. And so just, don't let that stop you. If you need to promise them an ice cream cone or a milkshake or whatever after the fact, that's always our go-to is ice cream. By all means, bribe them for the shot. And I would, like I said, I'd probably say that they all look forward to getting our picture taken. We're getting ready to do it here in a couple days, and nobody's complaining. Everybody wants to know where we're going, what we're wearing. Some are more excited about some of those details than others, but nobody is like, oh my gosh, why are we doing this? They've turned into some of our favorite memories, to be honest. They even help us pick out the location, pick out their outfits at this point. And so, yeah, the pictures just kind of helping to answer that question of like, why would I do this? Why would I prioritize this? My kids don't want to do it. I don't really want to do it. I think just backing up a little bit and giving ourselves more of a bird's eye view of a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, are we going to wish we had a picture to kind of commemorate that year? And I know a lot of us take pictures throughout the year too. I definitely have too many pictures. Well, maybe not too many, but I have a lot of pictures on my phone. And I know a lot of us are the same way. But having a photo session where a professional photographer is getting a perspective of your family that you aren't the one capturing, aka you can be in the picture now. You're not the one on the other side of the camera. It's just totally different, and that professional eye, that professional perspective, capturing a different angle or a moment is just something that we don't typically capture on our own, on our iPhones, or our Androids, on our own. And so having a picture that tells the story of an entire year, I love seeing how our kids have grown over the year. We can literally look and see which year Owen passed me in height. It was last year. And the year before that, our family pictures, he was a good 1.5 inches, maybe even 2 inches shorter than me. And so it's just, like I said, it's a story of what does our family look like this season? What do the relationships look like? How different were we in height? How did their smiles change? How did their posture change? How did their confidence change? There's so much that you can capture in a picture, especially when it's a professional photographer capturing it and you're in the picture as well. Our kids, for sure, as we get older and they take some of their own pictures, they definitely start to see the value in having a picture of them with their mom, with their dad, with everybody. And, I think we would never say, you never hear a mom or a dad say, I wish we had taken less pictures of our kids this year, and like I said, the professional setting, the professional quality of a family photo shoot is just something that is so valuable. It makes for such a memorable piece to your family. Also, they make really great gifts. If you're looking for the gift that keeps on giving, so to speak, put it in a pretty frame, print out an 8x10 or an 11x14 and give it to your parents, the grandparents. There's nothing that they love more than pictures of their grandkids and their kids, and just having that family heirloom. It goes so far. Even my kids, we now will frame the pictures that we take of each of them with Andy and I. And so every year they get 2 framed pictures, one of them with me, one of them with Andy. And they have them all around their room. They've just been collecting them. They never want to replace the frame with the current year's picture. They want to keep them all. And I just think that, we didn't tell them to do that. They just have literally all naturally been inclined to hold on to those pictures and to set them out on their bedside table or, somewhere in their room that they can always see it. And it's so sweet. It's so precious. And so they're not just pictures to keep digitally, they're pictures to print, put them in frames, give them as gifts. You won't regret it. And so it's an investment that is not just for the memory itself, but it's an investment for a gift. And it really, for me, it makes gift giving really easy for the grandparents every year. And of course, there's apps where you can do more than just, pictures printed. You could do blankets and canvases and all different things, coffee mugs, all of those favorite things. I've never had a grandparent say, please stop sending me pictures of your kids and your family. So hopefully that helps, encourage you to make that investment, make family pictures a priority, get them on the calendar. So let's talk about, the photographer. I would definitely, we've had several photographers over the years. I used to have a rule that I would not use the same photographer every year because I wanted a different angle. I wanted a different perspective perspective and a different viewpoint every year. And every photographer has just a really cool, unique, special skill of seeing things that we don't see. And I always wanted to capture that just kind of authentically. But I will say I have broken my own rule about 3 years ago. And we have had the same photographer for the last several sessions. And she is amazing. Her name is Brooklyn Harrison. And she is, I'll include her information in the show notes for this if you are looking for a great one in the local area. But I think it's important, whoever you choose, that they know what you're looking for. If you're somebody that really likes those polished, everybody looking at the camera and smiling pictures, let them know that. Me personally, I prefer the more candid, less expected photos, and Brooke is amazing at capturing those. I call them the shot right after the shot. So if we're all sitting there or standing there and we're all smiling at the camera, she of course captures that. But as soon as we kind of break from our stance or our positioning and we either like laugh or roll our eyes or, have an exasperated sigh or whatever the situation is, she gets those too. And so it's a little bit more of a natural, candid photo shoot for us. So she gets the shot, but then she also captures, because she knows that's what I love, she captures a lot more of those candids where the kids are running to the next spot or we're chasing them to get them in place. She captures those because I love those. And I mean, the standard ones are great too. The grandparents tend to love the ones where everybody's looking and smiling because they love to see faces and smiles. So there's no wrong way to get a picture. But like I said, as you're looking for your photographer, especially if you have kids, make sure that they are comfortable with kids, that they have a little extra patience with getting kids maybe to their place and having a little bit more wiggle room in their schedule, because it will take a little bit more time. Also, I think finding a photographer that knows how to play with the lights and the angles and getting something a little bit more unique is worth it. And again, just let them know what you're looking for. Spend some time maybe browsing through previous pictures that they've taken. Most photographers have an Instagram with, tons of examples of what they've taken before. Don't be afraid to say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. And you'll be a lot happier that you did that on the front side versus when they send you their batch of photos and you say, wow, I wish we had gotten, different ones than this. So just be upfront, know what you're looking for, be clear with your photographer, and make sure that you're finding one that has kind of done what you're looking for. Hey friend, I wanted to take a quick pause to ask if you've taken the quiz yet to find out what type of dreamer are you. It's super important to discover what's working for you, but also some things that may be keeping you from really pursuing your greatest purpose. It takes just 2 minutes to find out if you're the skimboarder, the sunbather, the sandcastle builder, or the surfer babe. So jump over to dreamerquiz.com and be sure to share your results and tag me in it. Now back to the show. In terms of location, really anything goes. We have done pretty much every kind of scenario for a location in the past. We've done in our home, we've done in our little downtown city area with, buildings and beautiful doorways and big architectural walls and windows and lighting and cement and more of like the just a different, vibe than maybe the open fields or the more scenic places with like bridges and lakes and tall trees and, the blanket on the ground. This year we're doing just a big open field. So nothing really to play around with. If you've watched or followed me for any length of time, a couple of years ago, we did kind of a farm area with a like a VW vintage bus in the background, which lended itself to some really fun poses and backdrops. But this year we're keeping it really, really simple. And we're just going to capture, a much more just fresh kids, lighting, angles, what can we do in this open field? And so, like I said, they're still a couple days away. So I guess stay tuned to see what those pictures end up looking like. But maybe there's a significant or a more personal location for you. Maybe it's where you got engaged or, something significant happened in your life and, like the beach or just something that's very meaningful to you. That can be a great spot for a photo. I would say if you have young kids, definitely definitely lean more towards the open field kind of spaces. We learned last year that we did another downtown city space, and it was really tricky with Liam because he was 2 and he was trying to run everywhere, and there was more traffic than we had hoped for. And so that was more to think about and more to be potentially stressed out about than just the picture itself. So, if you have young kids, maybe don't be on the in the marina or on the docks where there's water underneath you or traffic, which sounds really silly to say that now, but we've done both of those and regretted it. And so take it from me, those are good lessons learned. If you've got young kids, open field, trees to climb, rocks to jump off of, just grassy fields to run through, spin around, that's going to be a much less stressful environment for you. And you'll be surprised with how much the kids can think to do in those wide open spaces. And then let's talk about outfits. I absolutely love choosing the kids' outfits. I will say though, this year, just because of the margin in my life these days, I have not had the time or maybe the willingness to put in the mental energy that I have in the past to choose our kids' outfits. But we're still following the same rules we've always followed, and that is to choose complementary colors, not the same colors. You don't want everybody wearing jeans and a white shirt. You don't want everybody wearing blue shirts and khaki pants or skirts or whatever it is. And I don't think many people do that much these days anyway, but complementary colors, complementary patterns, not identical, goes a long way. And, definitely avoid black and white. They are too harsh on the camera. The black tends to look like emptiness or like a hole, or you just kind of lose whoever's wearing the black, and the white is just too stark. So even if you do a dark charcoal or a creamy white, you're going to be much better off. You're going to love the way that looks a lot better than a just solid black or a stark white. In addition to the colors and the patterns, I would say always make sure that you're choosing different textures and different layers. You want, when your kids are sitting next to you or sitting next to each other, that the textures are providing some depth, some difference, and some contrast. So you can almost kind of feel their clothes through the pictures. So some examples of that we've done in the past would be like a tulle skirt, like Hannah's pink tutu, or she's wearing a tulle skirt. She actually is again this year, in a couple different pictures. And so the tulle or the lace combined with maybe a flannel or a denim, a fuzzy sweater versus leather, anything that would give sort of that contrast and that texture, it just adds another element of interest for your pictures. And definitely make sure that they're not going to clash with each other. So if you have, again, it's not the easiest combination, but I have 4 boys. And so finding 4 different boy outfits, girl outfits are so much more fun, y'all, but boy outfits that they feel comfortable in, that are not identical, that still look good next to each other, like a small plaid versus a larger flannel print versus maybe a stripe or a solid, make sure you don't have 2 competing plaid or checkered patterns that are going to be next to each other. I would say pick one, or maybe one checkered or one like flannel plaid. I would not do multiple ones unless they're so different that they're not going to compete or clash with each other. And don't be afraid to put denim on the top on one kid and denim on the bottom for another, and create a little bit of like a mirrored complementary look that way. Just keep it balanced. It's always helpful for me when I set their outfits out next to each other on the sofa or across the floor, so I can see what the colors are going to look like next to each other. And it will be pretty obvious which one is like, oh, that one is not working, or that one is, I thought it would look good in my head, but now that I see it next to each other, that rosy pink and that medium pink are just, they're too similar and they're not working. Or that baby blue and that gray are muting each other. They're too muted, and you might need more contrast there. And this might sound a little bit OCD, but if you're going to take the time to get pictures done, it's definitely worth to take just that extra step to put the outfits next to each other. Make sure that that your kids look like themselves. My kids would wear athleisure. Well, most of them would wear athleisure all day, every day. But this is the chance to just elevate it, maybe one level up, and so, jeans or anything with like a button or a zipper for pants is like a big deal to a couple of my kids. And so that's as far as we go, and then they wear like a soft sweater or maybe a polo, but they don't do a button down and a tie and, pants that are a little, what they would call fancy, over like Adidas pants or something. But just one level, maybe two levels above what they're most comfortable in, but that it's still their style. If they tend to be a little bit more of your basic dresser, keep them in basics, and just add a collar or add a cuff, add a layer, maybe one more layer. Tights on girls adds a completely different look, a completely different layer. It's really fun. I feel like tights are just a classic accessory, especially this time of year. They can still get away with a skirt if you put some tights on with them. And so that's super, super sweet. So hopefully that helps give some ideas on picking out their outfits. We are going through our closets this year and just trying to use what we have instead of in past years, I will admit, I have gone out and bought outfits just for family photo day, and then they never wear them again. And I've learned from that. That's not necessarily, they looked great, but it wasn't necessarily the best use of our family finances. And so you don't have to go out and buy brand new outfits. You can look and see what you already have, mix and match, and it is still going to work great. So, some final wrap up tips. I will say the biggest thing, especially for us moms, if you're anything like me, is that I have in the past put a lot of pressure on, this hour. We're paying for it. We've lined so much up. For me, again, if you know me at all, I love a good plan. And so I want the time that I've invested into planning this whole moment to just be perfect. And let me just save you the trouble and tell you, it's not going to go perfect. And that is probably going to end up being the best part. I will tell you again and again and again, the pictures or the photo shoots that we went into thinking we're not ready for this. This is not going to be good. I am exhausted. The kids don't want to go today. They have turned out to be some of our most favorite, not only just photo sessions, but pictures. The ones that are hanging on my wall today, which I have so many, y'all, over the last 14 years, so many different individual moments and group, our family pictures. But it's so funny. The ones that we thought were just going to be complete train wrecks ended up being some of the best memories that we all look back on now and we're like, oh my gosh. For example, a couple years ago, Gavin was probably 6 or 7 and he decided to give himself a haircut. He was actually probably younger than that, maybe 5. He decided to give himself a haircut and it was horrendous. It was straight down the middle from the front, like his forehead, almost all the way back to his crown. He basically shaved this entire chunk out of his hair 3 days before family pictures. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And would you know though, that family photo shoot, the pictures of him with his haircut, we all laugh. We get so much joy out of remembering what were you thinking, Gavin? I mean, it's his favorite pictures because he's like, I don't know what I was thinking, but we still got the pictures done. And it's one of the greatest memories. One of the years that we were in the process of adopting Hannah, we had blown up a ton of balloons, a bunch of blue balloons, and then one pink balloon. And I don't know what we were thinking. I don't know why we thought this would work so well because the boys were still super young also. And we lost that pink balloon. I can't tell you how many pink balloons we ended up having to blow up so that we could get the one picture that we wanted with a pink balloon. It was crazy. And I mean, we almost threw in the towel of the whole thing because this one pink balloon idea was it was not worth the trouble. But now whenever we look at the picture with the pink balloon, we're like, do you remember how crazy that picture, was? And we had a photo shoot where I don't want to name one child and throw them under the bus, but Hannah had the worst temper tantrum maybe of her entire life during one photo session. And she wouldn't sit still. I mean, she was laying on the ground, kicking, screaming, just was not having it. Anything we asked her to do, she was doing the complete opposite. I don't know if anybody can relate. Does anyone else have a child like that? I'm not sure. I'm going to guess I'm probably not alone. But our photographer was so patient and I told her, I said, just keep shooting, just keep taking these. This is it. This is life. This is what the family photo shoot's all about. We're capturing life in this season, in this moment. And we just kind of embraced the chaos. And they are some of our favorite pictures because she was so bossy. I'm trying to use past tense on purpose. And it captured it so well. And again, that's what your family photo session is all about. It's about relaxing. It's about embracing your family in this season, in this time, in this moment. Will it go perfect? It will not. It definitely will not. So drop the expectations, plan what you can plan, and then walk into it with open arms, waiting to see, how windy is it going to be? Is the golden hour really going to be golden tonight? All the things that you can't control. Just embrace how it's going to roll out. And I promise you, it's going to be so worth it. And just make the time to do it. Make sure your kids get naps if they need naps. Make sure you don't have a ton of other things on the calendar that day. Make sure you take those group pictures if you're wanting group pictures, which I would recommend. Take those first while your kids are still fresh, and then let them run around and get some individual pictures as well. But I hope these tips have helped. I hope they've helped encourage you to invest the time, invest the money into getting these family pictures that will last so long. They'll make great gifts. They will be so worth it. And I can't wait to hear how they work out for you. So it's been so fun sharing with y'all, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Thanks again for listening, friend. We would love to hear what is really speaking to you in today's episode. It means so much to us, and we would love for you to take a screenshot of you listening to our podcast, share it on Instagram and Facebook. Definitely tag me in it so I can reshare it. Our kids especially really love hearing what you're getting out of our show, so it really means the world. Thanks again for joining us.